Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Yay, it's the weekend. Yay. I don't know if you're as excited as I am, but I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. Oh, gosh, look at our festive backgrounds. Look how fun those are. I love this. I've got a little tropical Santa down in the corner with his pineapple. I love it. Speaking of being in the festive spirit, my outfit today is inspired by Sammy Sunshine. I don't think she's here yet, but Sam, I'm wearing my red and black flannel pajama bottoms, my Christmas red sweater, and I painted my nails green, which looks nicer than on here because my green screen, if I hold it up close, it'll like make them, weird. But anyway, I am now officially in the holiday spirit, and I hope you guys are as well. Hi, Lady in Gray. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to all of our couch potatoes. Grab your seat on the couch, your snacks and your snuggly blankets, and your cat, if you have one. I don't know which kind of cat you're referring to, but yes. So today, this is going to be our last reading of Chad Daybell's letters from death row for the year. I don't remember exactly when we started covering these. I want to say September-ish, August, September. Chad decided he was going to write letters from death row and put them on a website, and he was going to tell the world his story. All right, because everybody has it wrong. The press was wrong. The attorneys were wrong. Everybody was wrong about Chad Daybell, which, no, no, none of us were wrong about anything when it came to Chad. Oh, I look like a wrapped Christmas present. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, ooh, let's get a little festive today. Why not? This was before I knew about the Christmas backgrounds. And I was like, oh, it's a sign. So we've covered, I want to say 7 of Chad's letters. Now, he said, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell everybody my side of the story and that everybody else is wrong and tell them the truth of what happened. And instead, he rambles on and on about recommending books. I think he has like a music playlist. And he talks a lot about his near-death experiences, which are something else. They've been something else indeed. Basically, in my opinion, he's just writing these to try to get a cult following again. But so we have 3 more to read today. I have not read them, but I did look at the length of them, and they did not look very long. In the title of the last one, well, I have thoughts about that, but we'll see what they say. So let's get into Chad's letters, shall we? Yay. It's what we're all here for anyway. I know a lot of you are on verdict watch for the Brian Walsh trial. Y'all just got on verdict watch not too long ago, so I hope y'all get a verdict today. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Oh, sorry. I hate painting my nails because they take so long to dry, and then I'm just handicapped. I can't touch anything. I can't use my hands for anything, and they mess up just so easily. It never fails. Never fails. He's trying to keep his and grow his cult. Sorry, SOP, says Lady in Gray. Agreed. So let's go with letter 8. The Great Eclipse. You can't do anything with wet nails either. And like, I know they're supposed to dry. It says quick dry. I don't know if it's just my nails. It takes like 40 minutes. And I still mess up. Every time. All right, so letter 8, the Great Eclipse, Chad says. I hope my first 7 letters, along with the accompany sections, Chad Bookshelf and Chad's musical notes, have helped you better understand my personality, interest, family dynamics, and spiritual experiences. It has not. It has not helped explain anything about you, Chad. But okay. Now, with this letter, I will shift my focus to the series of chronological events that are crucial in explaining what later transpired in my life. Okay. I am discontinuing the bookshelf and music notes section from this point forward. Oh, Chad, but why? Why? How are we going to know what to read or listen to? And also, why are you going to cancel? What else you have? What else are you doing on death row? Like, what are you even doing? I don't understand. So, you wondered all about that, Chad. Of course we did. Those sections serve the purpose of showing the various literary and musical influence in my life, as well as allowing me to share a few additional stories that related to each letter's main topic. I'm going to go because we know he's an author. He's written dozens of very shitty books. They're not written well at all. It's like a sixth grader wrote them. And so now I'm wondering, did he just run out of books because that's the most he can read? Or why? Why are we talking more about those? I will still occasionally mention other influential books, songs, and movies that emphasize important concepts, but they will be included in the main letter. Well, what are these letters for? Okay. Let's begin in the summer of 2017, when my autobiography titled Living on the Edge of Heaven was published. What? Oh, I didn't know he's already written an autobiography. Adding that to my list of things to read to make fun of. The book's title refers to the spiritual experiences I have described in the previous letters, including my 2 near-death experiences I've had up to that point. I had shared portions of my life story many times over the years through church talks, newspaper interviews, podcasts, and in a weekly online column I wrote. But I felt that the audience was only getting a small part of the story. So I assembled all of these anecdotes from my life into one volume. I bet this is what Lori read. That was just like, I am so in love with this guy. I'm going to do all the horrible things I did because of his autobiography. I don't know that to be true, but probably. This book was well received, and I was invited to participate in several speaking events where I could give a humorous talk with an accompanying slideshow. After my talk, I would go to a table and sell my books to interested attendees. It gave me an opportunity to meet a wide variety of people from all over the United States. So yes, this would be around that time. One of these events was a conference held in the mountains of central Utah. It was a beautiful outdoor setting in a meadow surrounded by trees. I spoke to a couple hundred people sitting in lawn chairs and relaxing on blankets. Despite the setting sun, my slideshow is still visible, and I was pleased with the audience response to my talk. Okay. Afterward, I spent several minutes talking to people and selling my books. As the crowd began to disperse, a bubbly blonde woman and 2 of her friends approached me. Uh-oh, I think we know who this is. I think we know. All right, who is it? Tell us, Chad. The woman introduced herself as Melanie Gibb and that she was from Mesa, Arizona. I told her I had given a presentation at a writers' conference in Phoenix in 2005, but I had never been back. Melanie responded by saying she had a lot of friends in Arizona, Miss Lori Vallow, who were reading my books and who would love to hear me speak. She said she was very good at organizing events and she would be happy to arrange it. I appreciated her enthusiasm and I thanked her for the offer to help me out. I explained I had just started working on the final volume of my latest fiction series, and once it was published in 2018, I would contact her. We exchanged phone numbers and then went our separate ways. Around this time, excitement was reaching a fever pitch in eastern Idaho for the great eclipse that would cross the United States in August 2017. The anticipation was magnified in the Rexburg area, which would be directly in the eclipse path of totality, where the sun would be completely blocked by the moon. Our home was projected to be within the moon's shadow, and on the day of the big event, we had a large crowd of friends and relatives come to our property, including several people who had traveled from Utah. The eclipse would begin in the late morning, and the day was essentially considered a holiday in eastern Idaho. We've had quite a few eclipses lately here in Ohio, where it's been just as big of a deal. So, I mean, they happen all the time. They're not that special, but they're pretty cool. As the moon began to pass between the earth and the sun, we all put on our special protective sunglasses. The actual eclipse took longer than we expected, but the sunlight slowly dimmed, and eventually only a small sliver of the sun remained visible. I glanced to the west and saw an enormous shadow approaching across the landscape, and suddenly the sun was completely blocked by the moon. We could see the amazing ring of fire that a total eclipse produces. The air temperature noticeably dropped, and people's voices even sounded distorted as we excitedly talked with each other. Everyone was marveling at how strange the world felt. Meanwhile, I had to suddenly focus on keeping my spirit in my body. Oh my. Oh, I didn't know eclipses can cause spirits to leave our body. But they did for Chad because, of course, he did have an audience. Let's just keep that in mind. He said several people came to watch this, so he had quite the audience. It felt like my spirit was being pulled by a giant magnet towards the ring of fire in the sky. I felt dizzy and close to losing consciousness, but I just clenched my fist and gritted my teeth. This seemed to actually hold my spirit in place. You guys, there you go. There is Chad. He solved it. If you feel like your spirit is leaving your body, just clench your fists tight and grit your teeth. And that traps it right inside. After about 2 minutes of totality, a burst of sunlight emerged, and the magnetic pull I felt ebbed away. I had stayed in my body, but I felt completely exhausted. Oh, I bet that was a sight to behold. In earlier letters, I discussed my first 2-year death experiences, which happened in 1985 and 1993. It had now been 24 years since the second one, but I had always felt vulnerable to having another one, as if I could pop out of my body at any time. For that reason, I'd become much more cautious about any recreational activities involving water after my Flaming Gorge and La Jolla Caves incident. Even jumping off the low dive at a swimming pool felt risky. Oh, so much. I think my spirit must have been somewhat dislodged by the eclipse, despite my best efforts. I now felt disjointed with some alarming side effects. The most dangerous one was that a few times a day, everything around me seemed to stop in place. What a load of BS. This new problem was most concerning when it would occur while I was driving. It happened twice while I was traveling along Highway 20 between Rexburg and Idaho Falls. Each time the world around me froze up and didn't start moving again until I was 200 yards down the road. Who wants to bet that this is going to work its way into here's the truth of what really happened? Time froze still, and I was frozen, and I couldn't stop any of the events because I'm magical. These incidents were happening often enough that I modified my daily routine so I didn't have to leave the house unless necessary. Wow, Chad, wow. The best description is that I was buffering, similar to when you're watching a video and it freezes for a few seconds before catching up to where it was supposed to be. I was somehow missing out on those few seconds with no knowledge of what had happened during that time. But did you I don't know, Chad, did you go to the doctor, get this checked out? I mean, that sounds like it could be a serious, problem with your brain. But no, we'll just chalk it up to woo-woo, right? That's the way. This guy. About a month after the Great Eclipse, our family was watching a DVD of. Wait, you just say that, Chad. Oh my God, you don't have to say DVD. Our family was watching a DVD of the movie Wreck-It Ralph. When it came to the scene where the cute little girl, Vanellope, starts suffering glitches, I realized I was suffering from a similar malady. I sensed I needed a reboot, much like Vanellope in the movie. What? What, Chad? You're like, oh my God, that explains it so much. Oh my God. Thankfully, I didn't have to wait too long. My glitches went away after my third near death experience, which happened in early November 2017, less than 3 months after the Great Eclipse. That incident will be the topic of my next letter. Oh boy, Chad, can't wait. Can't wait. Okay, so he just spends months, 3 months. Eclipse happens. His soul tries to leave his body, but he clenched his fists and everything was fine. But then he started glitching and he had to rearrange his whole life. But did he go to the doctor? No. All right. Yay. Another one of Chad's near-death experiences, because this is common and makes sense. All right. Letter number 9, my third near-death experience in 2017. And remember, I think Chad is a con artist. All right. He has all these books going out in order to give himself credibility. These things need to happen. I'm just saying. In my previous letter, I described the strange symptoms I was dealing with following the Great Eclipse in August 2017. As I mentioned, the most frightening symptom occurred a few times each day, when my surroundings would freeze for several seconds before catching up to reality. I wasn't able to remember anything about what actually happened while I was buffering. I was praying for a resolution, but this condition continued for several weeks. Oh my gosh. Lady in Gray says he's definitely a grifter. Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. On a Sunday evening in November 2017, we held our weekly dinner with all of our children. Both of our daughters had gotten married earlier in the year, and we loved having them and our new sons-in-laws join us. We set up a folding table and chairs in the front room so we could all eat together. After a delicious meal, we cleared away the dishes and gathered around the table again to play a card game. During the game, someone made a humorous comment. As we were all laughing, I suddenly felt myself elevate above the room and float to the ceiling. Oh, wow. Okay. I was now looking down at my son, who had been sitting across from me. Then my view shifted, and I could see through the outside wall towards the highway, where I saw a spirit dressed in black watching me intently. She seemed to recognize I could see her, and she laughed delightedly at what was happening. This whole incident seemed to take about 5 seconds. Then, instantly, I found myself back in my body, sitting in my chair at the table. However, the entire family was surrounding me with very anxious looks on their faces. They worriedly asked me if I was all right, and I was confused. I asked what was going on, and one of my sons-in-law said I should go to the hospital and get checked out. I said I felt fine, and I didn't understand what all the fuss was about. And look at that, somebody else having a logical thing to do, and Chad's like, no, because if I get an MRI, it's probably going to show I'm fine, and that's not going to help me sell books. So everyone started talking at once, explaining I had been laughing along with the rest of them. Then I went limp and slumped forward against the table. My face had turned purple, and I wasn't breathing. The others had stopped laughing and watched me for a few seconds, wondering whether I was joking around. Then they saw the color of my face and knew something was seriously wrong. Didn't he say this took like 5 seconds? Okay. 2 of them jumped up and grabbed my shoulders, pulling me into a sitting position. They looked at my face and my mouth drooped open. My eyes were glazed and vacant as if no one was home. Then I suddenly jolted back to life, wondering why they were acting so concerned. I told them it felt like only 5 seconds had passed, but they shook their heads, saying it was about a minute in real time. Oh, also kind of sounds like a stroke, Chad. Not, all of this, but okay. The incident disrupted the game, obviously, but once it was clear I was feeling okay, Tammy and my children were ready to start playing the game again. My new sons-in-law were somewhat bothered by our seemingly lack of concern for my health. I would say so. Almost as if you did that to get them on board too. They were dismayed I didn't want to be examined by a doctor. Tammy explained to them that this kind of thing was somewhat of a run-of-the-mill occurrence when it came to me. My chest did hurt, though, and after another round of the game, I excused myself and went into the bathroom. I lifted my shirt, and I was shocked to see a bright red circle on my skin above about 3 inches in diameter, right above my heart. Oh my gosh, you guys. After I lifted up my shirt, the circle began tingling as if I had been branded. Oh boy. I called to Tammy to join me, and I showed the circle to her. I explained I had seen a female spirit along the road who seemed happy I was out of my body. 3 inches is diameter. Could it have been? Because I don't believe anything this guy says ever. Isn't like 3 inches about the end of a blow dryer? Just put it on there. Make it all red. Just saying. Chad. Tammy suggested I had been shot by what the scriptures describe as a spiritual weapon. She felt it was possibly a fiery dart of the wicked. It made sense to me. I didn't fear death, but I knew it wasn't my time to depart this life. In fact, I soon realized this event had rebooted my body and spirit, just as I'd hoped and prayed for. The strange buffering stopped, and I felt comfortable driving on the highway again. Or all of a sudden, they stopped because everyone's like, why don't you go to the hospital? And you weren't going, and you didn't want to go. So you kind of had to put an end to this for a little while, right? So people stopped asking questions. Also, the incident helped motivate me to finish writing the final volume in my fictional Times of Turmoil series. I worked diligently throughout the winter, and the book was ready for publication in early 2018. Seagull Book had always been a big supporter of my books, and the company was eager to advertise the entire series now that it was completed. Seagull's corporate office arranged for me to do book signings throughout the spring at each of their stores in Utah and Idaho. There was a Seagull bookstore in the Phoenix area, but I wasn't sure it was worth the long trip to do a single book signing there. Then I remembered Melanie Gibbs' offer to have me speak to a group there. I checked my phone contacts and I still had her number. I called her and asked if she was still willing to help me set up a speaking engagement in Mesa. She was happy to help, and within a few days, she had arranged for us to use a large school auditorium. Love that. She also contacted another author who could speak that evening as well, and she felt the two of us would draw a large audience. So, in July 2018, I flew to Arizona and had a wonderful time meeting new friends. Bet you did. Melanie did a great job in organizing everything, and she even arranged for me to be picked up at my hotel and taken to the event. Well, gosh, gee willikers, just how amazing. You're like a celebrity, Chad. I appreciated Melanie's enthusiastic attitude, which greatly contributed to the event's success. Several hundred people were in attendance, and both of the presentations went well. Afterwards, the other author and I stayed for a while to chat with the attendees and to sell copies of our books. This was the first time I met Zulima Pastini. I forget how to say her name. Pastini's? Whatever. Zulima. We all know who she is. Remember, and if you don't, Zulima is who married Lori's brother, Alex. Yep. That Zulima, the one and only Zulima, who was a pleasant woman from Chile who was friends with Melanie. I told her I had served an LDS church mission to New Jersey among the Spanish-speaking people, and Zulima responded by saying something to me in Spanish. I had no idea what she said, and we had a good laugh about how my language skills had eroded. She bought one of my books, and I felt like I had made a new friend. Once we had cleaned up the school and put everything back in place, Melanie and another woman drove me back to my hotel so I could fly to Idaho early the next morning. Who do we think the other woman was? Anybody? I thanked Melanie for all of the time and effort she had spent in my behalf. During the drive to the hotel, Melanie mentioned she was going to help with an event in October in St. George, Utah. I told her I had already been asked by the event organizers to be one of the speakers, and I was happy she would be there. We arrived at the hotel, and I shook the women's hands and told them I look forward to seeing them in a few months. Hi, Teresia. Hi, hope you're doing well. Happy Friday to you. Welcome to Chad Daybell's letters. We've been through 2, and they're always something, never disappointing. All right, so that is the end of letter number 9. He is touring with his books conveniently after all of this buffering and eclipse woo-woo stuff that happened to him. And boy, does he hit that road just a few months later. There's Sam. Oh, my cuteness Christmas llama. Off topic, just came in and noticing the Christmas background and our beautiful llama in red today. No, Sam, you missed the beginning when I said my whole outfit today and the screen is inspired by you, Christmas Sam. I have on my red and black flannel PJ pants, my fancy red sweater that I usually wear for Christmas. It's my Christmas sweater. And I painted my nails green, though the green, you can't tell, they're green, but the green screen makes them appear a little purple because of my background, but I am in the festive spirit because of you, Sam. So it's for you, babe. And I just saw all these backgrounds on StreamYard today, and I was like, oh, I want that. Since we're not really doing anything too serious today. Yes, it's an early Christmas gift. You got a Christmas llama. All right, let's get into his 10th letter, titled Pausing the Letters for Now. Okay, excellent, Chad. First of all, You promised us the whole story. You promised us new letters on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You did not meet those deadlines at all. So cool. Love this. Let's see what Chad has to say for his last letter for now. For now, guys. For now. I began this series. Oh, hold on. Sorry. My throat is a little, so I didn't do Llama Learns About today because I knew I was going to be reading stuff. And my throat's a little scratchy from being on all day yesterday because I wasn't expecting to. I'll tell you what, it's been a while since I've had to do a stream that long, and definitely felt a little bit of that last night and this morning. But nonetheless, we're here. Boo, Chad, indeed. Boo. Boo. Yesterday was bananas. I can't believe it lasted all freaking day. It was crazy. I was not expecting a sentencing for a case, like that to take all day, but it did. All right, so letter number 10. I began this series of letters with the intention of providing the full and true details of this case up through my court trial in 2024. There is so much more to say, but I feel I need to pause the letters for now. Do you, Chad? Do you? Why is it, Chad? The timeline in the letters has reached a point that begins to overlap with the date of October 26, 2018, which is when the state alleges I became part of a criminal conspiracy. Yep, sure does. Sure does. My attorneys continue to work on my appeals and are in the process of submitting a post-conviction petition to the court. I believe it is important that my letters not get ahead of the legal process. No shit, Sherlock. Then why'd you even start them? I know your lawyers told you this could be a several-year process. And yet, here we are. We all knew that, Chad. We all knew it. My side of the story will still be shared when the time is right. Oh, okay. So now's not the good timing. Okay. Thanks, Chad. That time will have to be after the legal process has sufficiently progressed. So that's not going to happen. You guys, it's not going to happen. Yes, Chad finally grew a brain. Don't talk about your shit when you're filing appeals, Chad. Ugh, no, he just wants to find a better way to make money out of this. You'll see. The challenge I face in sharing my story is that the only versions told until now are the ones given to the media and by the state prosecution. Those two versions are essentially identical, and they present a biased story that was created at the very beginning of their investigation. Well, Chad, sometimes when it's the truth happening, it's probably going to be identical. That's how the truth works. So, just saying. There are times when it feels I will likely never to be able to overcome their versions, which have been set in stone through repeated retellings by the same handful of people whose comments have been crafted with an end goal already in mind. As if we didn't watch it ourselves and hear everything ourselves, because we did, Chad. We did. Chad is a certified idiot. God, this guy. Years ago, I read a book by John Grisham. I thought we weren't doing Chad's bookshelf anymore, Chad. Years ago, I read a book by John Grisham titled The Innocent Man, Murder and Injustice in a Small Town. The book tells the true story of two Oklahoma men who were wrongly convicted of murder, and one of them was sentenced to death. The book describes how a very aggressive prosecution was irretrievably misguided by just a few mistakes at the very beginning that set it down the wrong path. The detectives then engaged in badgering and harassing witnesses, conducted threatening interrogations, ignored obvious facts, and discarded other evidence. So many parts of my case can be reflected in that story. You can find it here and read it for yourself. Chat, when they find dead children's bodies on your property, not that far from your house, in horrible conditions. Okay, buddy. Like, you cannot just play I'm innocent of everything. They were all wrong. I don't know how they got to this conclusion. I had nothing to do with it when there were children's bodies buried in your yard. And the stuff that happened to sweet Tylee and JJ before and after they died. So you're not going to convince anybody of anything, Chad. Chad is no innocent man. I have not read that book, but what trial were we watching recently where John Grisham was there? Do you remember? Do you guys remember? He went to a recent trial. Oh, was it Murdaugh?
I think so, yeah.
I think John Grisham was at the Murdaugh trial. That would make sense. That would be a Grisham's alley. Anyway, yeah, no, he's not some innocent guy, Chad. No. And as a one-time journalist myself, I do feel the media has largely failed in telling the public a balanced and accurate version of this case. And listen, I'll give Chad this, all right? The media gets a lot of stuff wrong. They absolutely do. I know. I research cases all the time. And the news varies from place to place. And sometimes there is a pretrial agenda. But you know what there was, Chad? There was your trial. And many of us wait to watch that trial to form our own opinions based on the evidence. And guess what? It kind of matched the story. So just saying. Instead, they have opted for the state's salacious version that would appeal to the most people and capture greater attention. I don't think that's true either, Chad. The horrific details of what you guys did, yeah, that's pretty horrific. But even without most of them, the fact that there were 2 dead children, there were other people that were killed in this as well, but that's going to get a lot of attention without all of your weird ass cult portal bullshit. All right. You guys are the one that made it weird. Right? You're the one who made it weird. Right? Exactly. I want to ask him what part of his story. Exactly. Tell us then, Chad. Tell us then. Just saying. Sam says, I really don't understand the grandiose, idolized personality that people like him and Lori have. Me either, but I don't get it. Then to be presented with hard facts and evidence, they still won't come off their warped ideas. It's delusions. That, they don't want to be outed as liars and grifters and murderers, because that's what they are. I believe the media and the prosecution have worked in lockstep with one another to make sure only one version of events were ever told. Right. When I worked as an editor at the Ogden Standard Examiner in the early 1990s, our staff included a very tough seasoned journalist named Don Baker. He was the crime reporter, and he took his job seriously to hold the police department and other government officials accountable for their actions. Don always felt it was important to seek information through public disclosure laws that would discourage the police from investigating cases in the shadows. And it's almost like that's happened regarding your case too, Chad. Okay. I remember Don being fearless and relentless in the pursuit of truth. He has since passed away, but I have often wished a true journalist like Don would emerge in this case and fulfill the media's proper role of keeping sufficient distance and independence from the prosecution and the police. Instead, I have spent several years watching my story be inaccurately told by others. But aren't you a journalist too, Chad? You know why nobody else is telling a different part of the story? Is because the only people that have that part of the story are you and Lori. And those stories are bullshit and don't make any sense. At every turn, I have been told and continue to be told that I should allow the judicial system to play itself out and allow my attorneys to tell the story. For years leading up to my trial and even during it, I did that. Then my trial came and went without the entirety of my story being shared with the jury or the public. 6 years have now passed since Tammy, Tylee, and JJ died. I know that anything I share now, or even what I have shared in the previous letters, will be seen as desperate attempts by a convicted man to redeem his reputation. I mean, that's exactly what you said you want to do. So, okay. It is a very heavy burden because I continue to be told that the best opportunity to do that is at a proper trial, which you've had. Most people will say, I had a proper trial, I just did, but I did not. My current attorneys are in the process of showing the many deficiencies of that trial. I am seeking another opportunity to present to a jury the vital information that should have been shared the first time, not just the theory the prosecution put together. Again, Chad, you are so hell-bent that you have all of this stuff, that they got the story wrong, that you are an innocent man. Why didn't you take the stage? Why didn't you take the stand? Why did you? Don't blame this all on your defense attorneys, Chad. No. Don't do that. My current post-conviction petition is an effort to demonstrate that my previous attorney, the one person in a position to help me, sorely let me down, I'm sure. For such a high-profile capital case, he was underqualified and completely alone against the combined forces of several police departments, prosecutors from multiple counties, federal and state agencies, and out-of-state capital attorneys. I believe these circumstances need to be shown and argued in court as part of the appeals process, not simply explained through my own words in these letters. Those are very different things, Chad, but okay. Hopefully, my current attorneys will be able to clearly demonstrate the fact that I never received the defense I deserved as a citizen of the United States. It is so we're going with the it was unfair. Unfair. It is primarily for this reason I think it is best to pause these letters until my petition is publicly available. All right. Well, when it is, I am going to read it, buddy. So it better be good. And it better not just be the usual filings you see in every single appeal, which are standard, and there's nothing wrong with people appealing their trial. There's standard things that every appellate files. That's all normal and fine, as it should be. But let's see what else you have to say. Let's see what else you have to say, Chad. Only then will I know whether I will be given the opportunity to tell the full and accurate depiction of what took place in the fall of 2019. I make this decision very reluctantly because these letters have barely scratched the surface of the events I want to share. We know, Chad. We read them all. Just keeping people dangling on a carrot. These events include my fourth near-death experience, which happened in early 2022 in my cell in the Fremont County Jail. So make that 4 near-death experiences for Chad. Of course, we got to learn about another one. That powerful experience was much more extensive and far-reaching than my first 3 near-death experiences. I'm sure it was. It provided great comfort and hope that has helped sustain me through these subsequent years and the separation from my family. I hope these letters have been helpful to you, my dear friends. I do have a deep desire to show that I am still the kind, gentle person you knew. I trust that the facts will be eventually revealed. Until then, please know I love you and I have felt your love and prayers as well. Sincerely, Chad. Lame, Chad. Lame. You've literally delivered nothing, which is to be expected. I wasn't really expecting more from you, to be quite honest. You delivered nothing to us except for some BS that I know you're going to be factoring in to what really happened in that time. But once a grifter, always a grifter. He's like, well, maybe I should just turn that in a whole book. Like, what else do you have doing, buddy? So I guess we'll just wait until that appeal's filed. I mean, don't get me wrong. Chad shouldn't say anything. He shouldn't. But he also said he was gonna. So I'm kind of going to hold you accountable there, Chad. Oh, I have so much to explain. Everybody's wrong about what happened. I have all the truth and the facts and the evidence. You know who else does that, Chad? Cult leaders. That's who. Only you know the truth, and you're special. You're so special, Chad, with all your near-death experiences and your buffering moments. Once a con artist, always a con artist. That's how I feel. Well, it was a good run we had reading Chad's letters. And like I said, when his appeal comes out, if it's worth reading, we'll read it. I probably will anyway. But also, I'll keep an eye on the letters, because here's the thing too, is even though Chad says he's going to stop, I don't think he'll dive more into what happened, but give it a few months. He's going to come out with some more letters about some other bullshit things because he needs an audience. That's why he is a con artist and he's a grifter and a cult leader, is because he needs an audience. And just knowing that vast people could be hearing his words, he's going to have another one in a couple months. Can't resist himself. Well, friends, that is all I have regarding Chad's letters for you guys. I know. I'm mad at him about it too, but also not surprised. That's Chad. When do we get Lori's letters? I want those. Those two crazy kids. Talk about a match made in hell, really, because that's what they call her. But can you believe him? Oh, everybody has it wrong. When your wife's dead, there's 2 dead children buried in your backyard. And you're just like, nope, everything you hear is not true. Everything entered into court's not true. My lawyer was shit. Didn't get to present all this evidence. He didn't take the stand. Oh. Typical. You guys are welcome. You're welcome, Sam. I'm glad that you stopped by, Sam, so you could see my Christmas attire. I'll have it on for tonight for TMI, because tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, for our members only, is another episode of TMI, and it is going to be a fun time. It'll be me, Amos, and the lovely Annie, who we don't get to see too often. So I'm very excited about it. I love it so much. I knew you would. I was going to take a picture if you didn't show up for this. Or just at least tag you to let you know. But all right, guys, I'm off of here for today. You all have a great weekend. We will be doing stuff next week. What and when, don't know. So make sure you turn your notifications on. Hit that bell so you know when we go live or drop an episode. Sam is so excited for TMI. It's her favorite, Friday night show. It is a lot of fun. All right. You all have a great, wonderful weekend. And until next time, go forth and be amazing. Bye, guys.